from the Salvation Army National Headquarters, this is the Fight for Good podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another very special edition of the Fight for Good podcast. I'm your host, Lieutenant Colonel Tim Foley, and we're coming from you here at our National Headquarters office of the Salvation Army in Alexandria, Virginia. And today, I am with our staffer, Michele. Michele, good to see you.
Good to see you.
And we are talking a little bit about money today. Also, Elizabeth is here. And are you live on the mic? Are you going to jump in and talk about money?
I'm going to talk on the mic. I'm live. I'm in.
You're in it.
I'm not mute. No way.
You're in it. So, Michele, tell us a little bit about this podcast today.
Yeah, so for the November issue, I interviewed Jonni Parsons. She is a Christian blogger, but she also owns her own marketing agency called Sunday Morning Marketing. And I just realized that, like, some of the topics we had talked about hadn't really kind of dug a little deeper, and I think finances could be really taboo with people, which they shouldn't be. It's not a secret, like how to manage your money. I think everyone should know about it, especially the younger generations, just because it's not something that's really taught in school. Like, my mom taught me how to write a check. My mom taught me about taxes, but some of that, like, people don't always have the best example from that. And Jonni was a great example of that. She even said that her parents weren't the best with money, so she learned everything on her own. I was like, that's something that maybe should have been taught in, like, finance or accounting, So I wanted to dig a little deeper and talk about something that people are uncomfortable talking about. Well,
it's interesting because you were mentioning something that's not taught in school, and even way back when I went to school, they didn't teach us about money back in the 70s, when I was in high school. And money is always kind of one of those interesting things for people. I live by a very simple philosophy. You don't spend what you don't have. And I have an incredible credit record, but my wife and I made the pledge many years ago that if we bought something, if we couldn't pay it off at the end of the month, we would just wait until we could. I want to just ask both of you, do you feel that, like, millennials kind of have a real problem with money just because of culture, or is it lack of education? Is it lack of discipline, or maybe just nobody cares?
I don't know if I think it's all of the above. And I think everyone's, like, situation is different. I think for some people it's they don't have the education. I think some people it's culture. I think some of it just is the values are different nowadays. And I don't even know if it's, like, a problem. It's just not something that's talked about a lot, and I think it should be. It should be talked, savings, mortgage rates, your credit score. I think that should be talked about more so everyone's aware that these things are important. And once you have that education on it and you know what's important, then you can decide what fits best for your lifestyle.
I think, and our readers that are familiar with the War Cry, if they've been reading the last couple of issues, you also inserted another issue recently on money, right?
No, kind of. It was actually about travel, and it was about how millennials put travel above certain, like, big purchases that most adults would, like houses, even starting a family. And I just think from the previous generations, buying a house, getting married, having a family were some of the most important things. And obviously all of those above are expensive. Weddings, houses, kids, they're all expensive. There's no way around that. But millennials seem to be putting more experience, like life experiences, before they kind of settle down. So traveling, they spend more money on traveling than they do on rent and home, anything. They're not having children or getting married as fast because they want to have a good job or they want to travel. It mostly surrounded by travel because that was the topic, but it just kind of shows that their priorities are different as well.
Now, how did you find Jonni?
Honestly, I just kind of Googled top Christian bloggers, and she was one of the ones that came up. And I'm a big, how you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover? Well, I judge you by your website. So if your website is hard to navigate, I can't even pay attention to it. Jonni's website was very easy to navigate. Her message was clear on her homepage. All her links worked. It was just very easy to get in contact with her, as well as I felt like her the way she wrote spoke very well to our values here at the Salvation Army.
So you asked her a few questions in regards to her blogging and advice.
Mm-hmm.
Did she say anything in particular that just kind of really at the beginning there resonated with you?
You mean like about like her blog?
Yeah, or just that something different about it, or
Oh yeah, her blog. I started looking through it, and some of her articles were, wow, I can't believe she's a Christian and she's talking about this. So
while we're in our studio here,
November issue
the
got
November
delivered.
issue of the Work Right and Peer,
yeah,
that just both appeared under the door.
Like, what is that noise?
yeah.
It's like, well, that was
Cool.
That was kind of cool.
Bonus.
But anyways, yeah. So I was really shocked that as a Christian blogger, she was talking about some of these topics, dating. Can I say sex?
Yes.
Okay. She's, she's not dating, sex, relationships, friendships, like getting really into it. And I was like blown away by how open she was, because my view, like, on if you are going to have a faith or a religion, is you can't judge other people on if they don't agree with you. And that has always been my biggest, I don't care what you believe in, you just don't judge other people. That's not fair, just because they have different beliefs. So the fact that she was just so open and honest, and that's what I like, is she's a real human who went through real life experiences and is where she is today and found God at a very young age, and that stuck with her. And she's not perfect. And I think a lot of people associate Christianity with being perfect, and that's not true at all.
I like what you said there. And my wife says that a lot. We in our last appointment, we were constantly faced with all kinds of different lifestyle choices and et cetera, et cetera. And she would say over and over, God isn't asking for my help to judge. We're not to judge.
Right.
That's not our job. Our job's to love but also I think our job is to, especially, this may be different for some of our older readers or, however, I think one of our jobs right now is to start to deal with some nitty-gritty stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're finding these different Christians that are dealing with real life issues,
right,
that we feel all of us will struggle with in one way or another. And the area of money in particular, I think, is really important, because there is this idea that we can just, universal health care, universal college, just uniform, and it just like the money is just going to like appear out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And that's not how it works.
Right.
I like something else that you pulled, that you said in the interview, where she talks about online giving, and that there's just like, now it's very confusing with the online giving, because there's so many charities all over the place using social media to ask, and it gets to be very confusing. I was really intrigued by the interview that you did with Jonni, and I think in our November issue in the center spread, you were able to pull out a lot of great highlights of things that she said. Also on our website, thewarcry.org, the longer interview is listed there. But we're going to listen to her interview now. And is there anything you want to tell our listeners before we dive into what Jonni has to say?
Get a notepad and pen, because you're going to want to take notes.
So here's Michele's interview with Jonni Parsons.
So, thanks for talking to us. When I had just kind of Googled top Christian bloggers, you were one of the people that came up. And for our November issue, we're kind of talking about how, the younger generations, primarily millennials, prioritize their finances, because I feel like money can be a very taboo subject that people don't really want to talk about, which we should be able to, because, it takes money to make a living.
Right.
And so when I just found you, I found it really interesting that you started your own marketing business. I just wanted to know, how did you get into that? What kind of inspired that project?
Yeah, totally. So my company, it's called Sunday Morning Marketing, and it launched my senior year of college, which was about 2 years ago now. So it was a total God thing, because I had no idea what I wanted to do when I went to college. Like a lot of people nowadays, they go into college and they major in undecided, and that was me. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew that I loved to write. So I winded up majoring in journalism, but I felt like I was still stuck in some kind of creative box. I wasn't able to be as creative as I wanted to in writing. So I knew I wouldn't be happy or super fulfilled long-term doing it. So long story short, I did some kind of summer marketing internship at my college's marketing department. And the director of marketing there just kept telling me that he saw such potential in me to be this really good marketer. So I started applying for other marketing internships, and I actually got an internship with Nike Sports Camp. And that's where I really began to learn, a lot of my digital strategies. And in order to get the internship, though, they asked me for a blog link. So I kind of created my blog out of necessity to apply for these marketing internships, which now it's reaching over, thousands and thousands of girls. I have over 1 million on Pinterest right now. So it's just crazy that it started out of necessity for me to get an internship. But anyway, I got this internship at Nike, and I was just using all these digital strategies and seeing if they would work on my own blog, and they were. And people started asking me, because they saw how fast I was growing on Instagram and Pinterest, they were like, oh, can you do this for me too? And I realized, there's a market for this. And then I just had so many customers that it made sense to make it a business. So, yeah.
Wow. When did you start noticing, you had this, really big following? Without giving away your whole technique, what were some things that you were doing different from other bloggers at the time?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it had to do with just the transparency aspect. So I realized that I was kind of the only one or one of few that were talking about really just difficult subjects and not being afraid to, post myself with gross skin or, post myself not in the best, outfit and stuff like that, and just talk about the current struggles of everyday life. And I feel like that really got a lot of people interested in what I was posting about, and all of my posts are pointing back to Jesus ultimately. So after about a year, I realized, okay, I'm over 1 million on Pinterest, I'm over 20,000 on Facebook, and one post got over 45,000 shares, and then I'm 50,000 on Instagram. So I was like, oh, this is kind of working. So it's been a blast, and I think it all has to really do with just the vulnerability of my posts.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. Okay, so to kind of get into, the topic of the month is, like I said, money and finances.
Right.
We do see that, the younger generations have a different relationship with money. Millennials aren't really buying houses. They're not having families right away.
Right.
I'm pretty sure most of them aren't even, worried about retirement or 401ks. Or even know what that is because it wasn't really taught, in school. And it's kind of something they've had to learn on their own. So what was your view of money when you started to transition from a young adult to an adult to having your own business? Just what are some key factors that you think helped you along the way?
Yeah, so I actually am super passionate about the subject of finances, which is really funny that this is the issue that's talking about it. So I actually published a free ebook on my website, JonniNicole.com, and it's all about finances and growing up and taking them seriously. And my husband is actually a CPA, so he's given me a lot of advice along the way as well. But I came from parents that were particularly not responsible at all when it came to money. So my family and I suffered a lot growing up just financially. And as a young girl, I just knew that I wanted to have some kind of different life when I grew up. So I remember as a little girl that instead of spending the birthday money that I had gotten, I wanted to just save it all up and be smart. So when I got to college, I finally began seeing that money just all add up. And I just had such a high when I would check my savings account in college and I would hit a new goal. So I love that. But not everybody had that mindset growing up. I was definitely one of few. So many of my college friends would just joke about how broke they were. And if I could go back and give them some advice about finances, which I would, I would tell them, I think, 3 things. So I think the first thing that's really important is to just sacrifice those little things and be able to save up for those big things. So basically, for example, I never bought really expensive coffee when I was in college. I would just grab the free coffee in my cafeteria, but all my friends would go get lattes every day. And then so I sacrificed a bit of my time to coupon STVS for toiletries, so I didn't have this huge bill when it came to that, my toilet paper or my toothpaste and stuff like that. And then instead of going out with friends each weekend, I try to just lay low and do some free fun activities, like go to a museum or have a lunch in a park and bring my own lunch to a park, stuff like that. So, and then the second thing I would say is wait at least a full 48 hours before making a big purchase. So I even made this mistake one time, and I had to learn from it. I saw this influencer with a ton of makeup products, and I was like, oh, if they can make her look so pretty, I'm just going to buy those too. And without thinking about it, I just bought it, and I think it was like over $100, and I never even used it a ton. And I just want to tell my friends that I see all the time doing it as well to wait at least 24 hours, because I wait now too, and then the 48 hours pass, and I'm just like, okay, I really don't need that. I don't really need that now that I can have perspective on it. And then the third thing I would say is just get accountability. So my own accountability in college was my bank, my budget, and then my fiance, who is now my husband. So I would make sure I would put enough in my savings account, and I could only withdraw so much from there before I got fined. And then I was just on a strictly monitored budget, just because I wanted to enter adulthood with a really good amount built up. So those are kind of the 3 little tips that I would give somebody: to sacrifice now, wait a full 48 hours before a big purchase, and then just getting accountability.
Yeah, definitely. And you were mentioning, like having accountability even with your bank account. I don't want to ask what are some, or do you prefer a certain kind of bank? Do you prefer a checking versus a savings? When it comes to bank terms, what are
I think that they're both. I think that they're both important, like a checking and savings account. So I would, when I say accountability, when I would put stuff in my savings account, I had the bank that I had would only allow me to take so much out of my savings account per month. So I would intentionally put a lot in my savings, so I knew that I wouldn't be taking a ton out. So that was my accountability there. And then there's also a program that I know a lot of banks run, and I did this forever, and it was called Keep the Change. And basically, it was whenever you would buy something for $150 or $175, it would round it up to the next dollar, and it would take the remaining amount of change and put it into your savings account. So I saved a ton of money like that, because I would buy something for $1.85 or whatever, or a pack of gum, and then it would just round it to $2, and the other couple cents, they would just, every purchase I made would put into my savings. So I know that program still runs even now, and it's great.
Is that an app, or is that
no, that's just a program at a bank that most banks have for young millennials that are just opening a bank account. Yeah, it's great.
I want to sign up for that.
Yeah, right?
Awesome. Okay. And with the younger generations too, because with money so important, do you find that maybe donating or charities, do you see the younger generations donating as much as maybe the older generations? And if they're not donating, do you think that they play a part in charities other ways besides donating physical money?
Yeah, so I think, that's a great question. So tithing to a church and donating to a charity, they're definitely different. So tithing, I see as a command in the Bible, and I take that very seriously. But donating is something that is strongly encouraged in the Bible and in Scripture, but it's not a command. So I do believe, though, that if we're running our race and trying to resemble Jesus, that we're going to give out of love for those in need. And I think donating is really all about finding a ministry or a charity that we're passionate about, and where you can see your money actually going and becoming fruitful. And I do think that social media makes it much easier to give to charity, and people should take advantage of that. But I think that it's so clogged right now with everybody trying to ask for money that we have to be smart with who we have to be passionate about what we choose to give money to. We can't just, give money to everybody that asks, because it's so easy on social media. Everybody's asking for it. So if you look up like any ministry, like #ministry on Instagram, it's so clogged and polluted, and everybody is kind of even putting up a front to get people to donate. So I think just finding a charity that is really doing things with the donations that are coming in, and there's so many of them. And I know that I give to one prison fellowship ministry, and I think it's like the best ministry ever. And I really enjoy giving there because they show with social media posts exactly where your money is going, which I think is really encouraging. But yeah, social media should definitely make it easier to do that. But you just have to kind of look and find the one that you really loved.
Yeah, and then when you were younger, because you were so young when you said, you've been saved, when did you start feeling the need to give back? Like, when did that kind of kick in?
So it's really funny, actually. So I was I got saved, and I didn't really know anything about tithing because I didn't grow up in the church at all. And so my husband, on the other hand, he grew up since he was little, if he would get $1 for his allowance each week, he would have to tithe on that $1. So I had no idea what tithing was. And so when I first got saved, I would put a little bit of money away and try to buy people Bibles each month. So each month I would just buy one person a Bible or two people a Bible, and that to me was what I considered giving back. And I didn't really know what tithing was. I just, was buying people Bibles. But then when I met Ronnie, who is my husband, he said we have to tithe. And I was like, well, we don't really even see where the money's going. We shouldn't be doing that. And so at the moment when we were kind of in that discussion, we were church hopping, and we went to the church where we're members now. We went to their first service, and we were sitting there, and what did they preach about? They preached about tithing, and they did it so well and so just polished that it convinced me. And it was just in the midst of that discussion. We had been back and forth on it for weeks because I was like, I really don't see where it's going when I give to the church, whatever. So he just did it so well, our pastor. His name is Pastor Kirk. And he just did it so well that I just finally understood. And now we're very passionate about it now. But I always knew that I wanted to give back. I just didn't know how. So I would, put a little bit of money away to buy people Bibles at first. But honestly, the essence of that really just came out of being thankful that I was saved, even though I didn't deserve it. So, God saving me when I was 16, I was so lost and so in the world that it made no sense that he opened my eyes. It made no sense. So I wanted other people to feel that too. And if, I had to take a few dollars out of my bank account to buy them a Bible for them to get that revelation, then it was worth it to me.
Wow, that's such a nice thing. That's amazing. Yeah. And then did you meet your husband in college? Is that when you guys met?
No, so we actually met online, which we used to be really nervous to tell people that, but now that we're married, we're like, it's fine. We're married. Yeah. We're a success story. So we met the millennial way. We met on the computer, but we met each other, and he quoted some Bible verses, and then I was sold.
That's so cute. And it's Jonni and Ronnie.
Yeah, we are named Ryan. It's pretty pathetic. Yeah.
And then, are there any other tools, apps, or websites that you would recommend to other people that help you, manage your finances?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we use Excel or numbers to just keep our budget intact, but one other app that I love to use is called Mint. So it's free, and I've been using it probably since high school, and it will actually let you set money aside for things like gas or groceries or even just fun stuff. And if you begin to go over the money that you set aside, it warns you via text. So that's been a really good accountability partner that I've had for sure.
And just spell MINT?
Yeah, Mint. Yep.
Great. Okay. So, we kind of already I did already kind of ask you, just some, your tips. Is there anything else, maybe when it comes to investing or large purchases that you would maybe have, another piece of advice on?
Yeah, so I think that being successful and making a lot of money and being a Christian at the same time, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. So a lot of people or a lot of Christians will think like being successful and making a lot of money and being a Christian, it's not a comfortable thing to them. And so I do want to get across that money is actually not evil at all until it becomes an idol. So big purchases isn't bad. And I think my biggest piece of advice is just work hard and save as much as possible and grind and build a beautiful future for your family. And at the same time, keep Christ at the center of it. And I think now, after years of saving, which it wasn't even a ton. I'm only 23, and I've saved so much, and my husband has too, that now we're able to bask in, the reward of that. We've been able to go on a ton of trips. I work from home, so we go and do cruises, or we'll go to the Dominican Republic, or we'll do all of this fun stuff, and we don't have to think twice on, if I want to purchase something or buy new clothes for the fall. I don't have to think about it because we have such a strict budget. And we understand that, one, money isn't everything, and how we keep money not everything is by still giving back to the church and donating as well. Just because if I wasn't disciplined on doing that, I would not be controlling my money. My money would be controlling me, and we can't serve two masters. So just keeping our intentions pure, and then saving, and I think even just saying the tiny little choices that you make each day matters. So like the little chips that you buy at a vending machine, or the coffee that you buy every day, or the cute shirt that people just spontaneously get, it all adds up. So I think sacrificing now so you can enjoy those big purchases later, or not be able to think about like buying some clothes for the fall and stuff like that, you're able to really do that if you are smart in the present moment.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have like a golden rule when it comes to saving like 10% from your paycheck or anything like that?
Okay, that's a question for my husband, because I have no idea, but I just know that we have a set amount so we have an emergency savings account, so anytime that we'll put a couple $100 in there each month, so whenever we have car repairs, we don't have to take it from our actual savings account, we just take it from our emergency savings account. We also have this thing called HSA, so that's like something that anybody could set up once they graduate from college, and it's how you pay like your deductibles and your medical bill. So they take automatically a tax-free amount out of your paycheck each month, and it goes towards your HSA. So now whenever I go to the doctors and I have like this copay, I don't have to worry about it coming out of my checking or our savings account. It's just out of our HSA account. The money is already set aside. So we have little things like that, like we do, but we have spending money each month, and sometimes we don't even spend all of it, so we're able to put it away. But I will tell you this, we have me getting my pedicure and manicure on our budget every month, so it's not like I'm suffering at all. We really do enjoy ourselves.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you answered like two questions in one sometimes. You mentioned you actually knew about the war cry already?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I did something called summer ministry. And it was through Eastern Nazarene College, so that's where I went to college. And it was basically me and 4 other people, and we formed a worship band. And we train and stuff like that for a month. And then we go out for 3 months, and we travel the Northeast. So we actually went to a Salvation Army camp. I think it's here in Massachusetts, actually. And we were there for about 2 weeks. And so we did worship there, we led worship, and we led activities, and it was a blast. But I didn't know you guys existed until about 3 years ago when I did that, but it was awesome. It was a wonderful experience.
That was Jonni Parsons. Michele, thank you so much for finding her.
Yeah.
I know you just did the little bit of a Google search.
Yeah, but she responded, so that's the great part of it.
I really like several different things. I mean, we could spend a lot of time dissecting different components of what she said. I like the practical step, just start a savings account. Basically, she's encouraging people to stop impulse buying. Think about a purchase before you go ahead with it. And that whole thing of accountability, just making sure that you're not going crazy with your spending, and that you're bringing that all together. Those kind of things resonated with me. Anything else in her interview that just really kind of stuck out for you?
My favorite thing was the Round Up the Change program that she said most national banks have. That one I just think is so smart. I know there's some apps that do that with like investing, but I think like I'm gonna talk to my bank and see if they do that. So if you spend $1.75 on like a soda, that additional 25 cents, like your charge will actually be rounded up to $2, and that 25 cents will go into a savings account, and that builds up really fast. So that was my favorite part of it, just because I learned something and I took notes down from that.
We have an article on the webpage, thewarcry.org, that talks a little bit about some other apps that people are using when it comes to money. Do you want to talk a little bit about those?
Yep, we did 5 apps to help manage your finances. I'm not going to give them away because you're going to have to go read them online.
Thewarcry.org. Real simple. Real simple. You want that information? You got to go.
You got to go to the website.
You got to dig a little bit. Well, that's I just really appreciate the direction that you're going with some of this just real life stuff, and I think it's important for us to continue to help people become educated, to help people become more disciplined in their life, especially when it comes to finances. So Michele, she in the interview talks about this Mint app, and that's an app you have to pay for.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like a subscription, or like you have to like pay for certain features on the app. But for like starting out, like if for someone just starting out, it's really good. It's really easy to use. So if you don't mind spending that money, then, it's an investment.
But there's a lot of apps out there that are you're able to save or maybe earn money.
Yeah.
And you listed, or there's a few of them listed at thewarcry.org.
Yeah, so I'm not going to tell you the names of the apps because I want you to go to the website and check it out for yourself. But we do have a couple that, you get cash back on certain things, or this one app helps you invest your money. Another one pays you to post on Instagram, and anyone can sign up for it. So go to thewarcry.org to check out 5 apps that help you earn and save some money.
Well, we want to thank you all for taking a little bit of time today and listening on some of these practical things that we're talking about. Money. Thank you, Michele, for your good work on this. Give our listeners a little hint what's coming down. You have a whole bunch of interviews that you've already done. What are some of the other subjects you're looking forward in the future here?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're talking about working with your partner. So you guys have someone has a family together, but they also have a business together. Oh my gosh, we got one coming up about friendship. We have one coming up about dating. It's kind of all over the place.
Nice. That's great. Well, just keep coming back to Fight for Good. We're loaded with all kinds of different things that we're going to explore. And gosh, the new year is almost here. We're working our way through the Thanksgiving season, the Christmas season, and then the new year will be upon us, and we'll have some more direct topics coming to you from our center spread of the War Cry. So we hope you're subscribed to our magazine. You can read it online. And I learned today, somewhere hidden in our webpage, thewarcry.org, you can just download the whole magazine. You can read it on your phone or on your tablet, your iPad, whatever. Is that right, Elizabeth?
That's exactly correct. It's called the War Cry Treasury. It's located at the very bottom of the page. But if you click there, it's like an archive of all the magazines from this year, and I think up to 2016 they go back.
Good.
So check them all out.
See, I learn stuff from you kids every day.
We're young, we're hip, we know stuff.
Well, again, that's going to end this episode for the Fight for Good podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts. I happen to listen to iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where I get.
That's where I listen to.
And we have, if you don't know how to do that, if you go to our website, thewarcry.org, Elizabeth has laid out a whole nice little thing there of helping you learn how to download. We want you to also give us a like, not just like a 1-star. If you want to just give us a 1-star on iTunes, don't bother. Mm-hmm. But give us some five stars, or right? Pretty much that's how it works.
A 5-star rating
would be nice.
You could even write a review, say why you love the Fight for Good podcast.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to do different things. Mm-hmm. We're going to be growing, and we'll look back a year from now and look at all these different podcasts and go, well, that was a good try. But we'll kind of keep at it. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Don't forget our peer magazine, peermag.org as well, because they're dealing with a lot of real life issues. And I think you'll find that interesting, especially if you're from our younger listeners. Well, until next time, this has been the Fight for Good podcast. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Tim Foley.
I'm Michele Katsaris.
And I'm Elizabeth.
You have a super fantastic day.
Subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts.